Welcome to Six Count. I'm your host, Zara Wild, bringing you the voices and stories of jazz from Durham, North Carolina.
穿一件蓝色的旗袍，让你看得神魂颠倒，爱你爱到无可救药，想吓你一跳。穿一件蓝色的旗袍，抬起了肩膀，踮起了脚，高贵的女人不会怕老，你陪我算公道。
Yuan, thank you so much for coming over this afternoon.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
Yes, I've been following you for a little while. I know we have a lot of mutual friends, and so it's exciting to see you in real life. And you live in Durham, you said.
Yes, I do. Just about 10 minutes north to Duke University.
Perfect. I know you're in the philosophy PhD program right now. How far along are you in that?
I just finished my 4th year.
Oh, that's
so
great.
I'm heading to my 5th year, and it might be my last year, but I don't know yet.
It's the big dissertation year.
It is, but it's very complicated because, you know, with all the funding and visa, etc. So it's just kind of uncertain at this moment.
Okay. I know Duke is probably not impervious to a lot of the federal cuts at the moment for different things. So I hope that your department has been okay.
I think every department has been affected in one way or another, but you know, we're just gonna have to see what happens. It's just a lot of things are completely outside of my control and even other people's control too. So I think, you know, I'm just grateful for every day that I can be here and be with this community.
Yes.
I don't take that for granted, you know.
That's a really good perspective. And you are not from Durham, right?
No, I'm from China, but I lived in Virginia for 6 years before coming to North Carolina.
Was that for undergrad or master's or anything?
I came here for the last 2 years of high school. It was a nonprofit Quaker high school in Charlottesville. And then I did my undergrad at William & Mary.
And which part of China were you from?
I'm from a province called Shanxi. I don't know how to describe it. My city is kind of an industrial city. It's not one of the super big famous cities, and certainly you wouldn't find any jazz there, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
Probably the major cities have some jazz clubs, and maybe the jazz interest is growing a little bit, but as a whole country, I would say that it's pretty minimum.
Maybe people will value more the throwbacks and it'll come back into the zeitgeist in that way. Who knows?
Oh, I certainly hope so. I certainly hope so.
We thought that with the 20s, right? That it would be like the Gatsby era again, but I don't feel like that's totally taken the US by storm. But tell me about your dissertation plans. You are in social epistemology. I'm so glad I pronounced that correctly just now.
I know there are a lot of really unnecessary philosophy jargons involved in really every philosopher's life. So yes, I think it can be categorized as social epistemology, which just means a theory of knowledge, but in the context of a social group, not just individual agents. More specifically, I'm writing a paper on something called epistemic accessibility, what the role it plays in the supervenience debate. I think it's about whether social knowledge can be reduced to, or at least completely accounted by, knowledge that individuals have. But I think more interesting philosophy projects that I'm doing are the things I'm not working on in my dissertation. Okay. So I have a side project on neuroethics. Actually, a book chapter of mine just came out, I think, this month.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it's on neuroethics of some neuroethical problems or considerations of the gaming community. But it's just something I did for fun.
Are you a gamer yourself?
I am, yeah.
Okay. And do you have a lot of people you play with in person or an online community that you go to?
I do. I have some college friends who I still play with. And actually, some of the jazz musicians have become my gaming buddies too. Like Roland Bernal.
I saw you went to Moon Room on Saturday, and I saw Roland at I think I got there at 1 a.m. And so he said, we finished like an hour or two ago. So I missed you both. But he's great. I don't know how we found out that we play some of the similar games. So we started playing together. Yeah, it was fun. Nice. And what is one neuroethical problem that is most interesting to you right now?
There are a lot of really interesting things. And to be honest, the reason I did this book chapter was that the editors reached out to my professor. And because, he's really famous in neuroethics. And he said, I don't know anything about games, but I have a student
Yuan.
who is a gamer. So he introduced me to the editors. And then, I accepted
That would be really cool to have a hobby turn into something that you can actually investigate intellectually in an academic setting.
Yes, that's true. And that's what I appreciate about philosophy. It does have a lot of sort of academic freedom in terms of what I want to do, because, you don't have to apply for grants and you don't have to do experiments, labs. You just find something you're interested in and start reading and writing.
And was pursuing a PhD in the US part of the plan when you were in Virginia?
Not at all. I didn't even know that I was going to major in philosophy. When I was younger, I never really thought about what I was going to do. I was doing a major in mathematics and history. But then I took a philosophy class and I really loved it. So I started taking more philosophy classes, and eventually I think some of my professors told me that maybe you can apply to grad school, and I gave it a shot. I had no idea if I was gonna get in any, but I had to stay in school to stay in America because I'm
student visas.
on a student visa. So I didn't think about it too much, but I'm happy how it turned out.
It sometimes feels like in retrospect things click in. Is that your general perspective, like things happen the way that they should?
Yeah, I mean, that's what happened in my life most of the time. I didn't really make a lot of decisions. A lot of decisions were made for me. But I definitely want to start, having more autonomy, like in my cognition. Like I want to make decisions more consciously for myself, and doing jazz is definitely one of them.
Yeah. Tell me when that came into the picture, because you said you came from a place that was not saturated with jazz.
I had not even heard of jazz before I came here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was not a concept that I ever encountered. I wasn't musically trained either. Nobody in my family is a musician, actually, now I think about it. But after I came here, I was very lonely at the beginning. I lived with the host family, and most of my family and my friends were in China, and they still are.
Yeah.
And I was only, 17, and
that's really hard.
It was really hard, and I barely spoke English, and everything was really difficult. But like once I fell in love with jazz, with the sound, even playing jazz myself, and I finally felt like I could be completely content.
Wow.
Being with myself. Like I learned how to be with myself because it's myself and music, and it made me really happy.
That is so beautiful.
Yeah, it got me through some really lonely times. And I don't really feel lonely anymore because I have this with me.
That's so cool. I think jazz is so healing and is so rich, and it's a family, because if you can talk about the same people that you admire, you already have such a foundation of connection over that.
Yeah.
Well, do you remember your first interaction with jazz? Like, what opened your eyes to it?
My host mom would put on the radio at that, like, his jazz radios. I think at some point we had Sirius XM, and they had a station called Real Jazz. So lots of cool stuff. And we would just listen to that radio station on the way to school every morning.
Oh.
And I was just fascinated because I never heard such sounds, right? It's so unique. It's so beautiful. It's so complicated. So I was fascinated. And I was also in a jazz band at the school, but it's really kind of not a jazz band.
Okay, what do you mean?
Because like some of the music we play are not jazz at all. It's a super small school. We had 20 students in my class. So some of us are not musical at all, including me. I didn't even know what a C major triad was. But I started watching like YouTube tutorials on jazz piano because I wanted to know how this works. And that's how I learned most of the basic stuff, really just from YouTube.
Yeah.
Before I had a real teacher, yeah.
And you decided to do singing as opposed to an instrument, or do you play instruments as well?
Oh, actually, singing is a much more recent thing.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I really just played the piano in high school and then in college. Although my piano teacher dropped me during COVID, which, I understand because it was difficult to do in-person lessons.
And remote piano is hard.
It's very difficult. So I sort of stopped during the pandemic. Then, I came to North Carolina and I had a lot of schoolwork in the first 2 years of grad school. So I kind of stopped playing piano for a little bit. But then in 2023, I just felt like, no, I have to. Like, I cannot live without it. So I reached out to Ed Paulantonio because he was listed as a Duke faculty. And it turns out that, he's an amazing educator. He has taught many, many, students who have become great jazz pianists in this area. So I'm very lucky that Ed took me as a student. So I've been taking lessons with him for about 2 years.
Oh, that's great. It sometimes seems like a common thread of like the reason you do music is because of this sense like I have to. There's not a choice. The like artist in me is saying like I just need to do this. Does that feel right?
That's very true. Yeah, I was craving for it. I mean, for a while I thought, maybe I'll just be an appreciator or a consumer of this art, and that's how I see myself still. But then you just feel this need to play something yourself, to get involved, to go beyond just listening. And then I thought, I don't care how busy I am, I have to. Yeah. I have to reach out.
I think it makes you better at the stuff you have to do because you've had the outlet. So it served the purpose of like refueling you to go back to the hard philosophy stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And there's the practice, but you also perform, and I've seen you at the Sharp 9 videos from that. So when did you start actually performing on stage?
It all started when my piano teacher told me about this jazz voice workshop that the Sharp 9 runs. So I started doing that, and the teacher, Angela Bingham, she's really amazing.
Yes.
She helped me overcome a lot of my self-doubts and fear about performing on stage because like really I did take some singing lessons with Stephanie Nakasian when I was at William & Mary. I didn't know that she was famous because, partly because her daughter is Veronica Swift.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So but of course, at the time, I didn't know who she was. So I did take some voice lessons with her, but I was just not I just didn't believe in myself. And I didn't really sing much until basically Durham, because nobody ever told me that I could sing. So it feels like I'm gaining something back.
Yeah. Was it Angela who said you can do this? Or did she help with the instilling the confidence? I
mean, Angela once, I guess somewhat jokingly said, you're a good singer, right?
Oh.
I think after a lesson. And I said, no, I mean, I really don't. How would I know that? So then she laughed. And then it was the first time like anyone said to me, you're a good singer. So I think that meant a lot to me.
I loved having Angela on Six Count too. She has so much personality and just seems to live fully herself. And so I feel like it's sort of an infectious kind of personality that makes the people around her more full and confident too.
Oh yeah, she helped me tremendously. Without her, I wouldn't be able to sing on stage at all, I think.
Well, thank you, Angela. And that's so exciting. It is amazing that we can be so hard on ourselves, and like it can take someone else being like, these are your gifts, you should use them, to be like, oh, well, that's good, because it's like a deep desire of mine to do these things.
Yeah, it is kind of amazing that I just never thought I could sing until pretty recently.
Yeah. And I'm sure balancing school with music is always difficult, but what are some like goals that you have for performing, or things you want to try out, or are you kind of content with what it looks like for now?
I mean, of course, I always look forward forward to more opportunities to playing music and to playing music with different people. And I just hope that I will be able to make more time for it.
Yeah.
It's not easy since I have to also work on my dissertation, but I'll try my best.
Yeah. And
do different things. Yeah. And going to jam sessions has been really helpful because I get to know so many people from jam sessions. Many of them have come to your podcast, actually, like Imran and Trio, Alstrong, etc. Yeah.
And what are your favorite jam sessions at the moment, or the ones that you tend to go to?
I think I have to pick the Brown Brothers one just because
Thursdays with Trio.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it's the most vocalist friendly, I think. They have a really good setup for vocalists.
Is that how you would define like vocalist friendly? Like they have a dedicated mic for someone to come up there and sing, or what else would make a jam like, okay, I can kind of find my place here?
The sound system, right? Like you can hear yourself when you're singing.
Oh, right.
Sometimes the monitor is just like not
even facing you. Yeah.
Facing you, so you sort of couldn't hear yourself very well. And also the band, they know how to accompany a singer. That's another thing.
Well, I know that Trio works with Nina Freelon sometimes, or at least Andrew does, the pianist and band leader. So he's worked with her a lot on different things.
Yeah, and the band have such a high level of expertise. They can just do, they can help you sound good.
Well, that makes sense to me. And they recently released Volume 2, which was so exciting. And I know that they've been doing that.
I listened to that album. It's amazing.
Yeah. And so you like Bond Brothers. Have you gone to the Moon Room one on Wednesday evenings?
Yeah, I've been there many times. I've also been to the Tuesday Missy Ling ones.
Yes.
I might be going to the Broadside
and Bruise
tonight. Yeah. I think it's really important to go to jam sessions.
Yes.
I really enjoy it. Yeah.
And how would you say your process was in getting into the Durham/Triangle scene was? Like, what were your impressions and how did you learn about things? Part of the purpose of this show is to help someone who might be moving here get their feet on the ground and embedded into the scene.
Well, my first and maybe most important resource is still the Sharp 9.
Yes.
They have so many different educational programs. So Dave actually did this piano workshop in the spring. Grant Osborne was the teacher and Dave played the drums for us. And then, and also I met Angela at the voice workshop. So then she also told me about these jam sessions. And once I felt a little more comfortable with singing, I started going to them. So I think everything sort of started with Sharp 9.
Nice. Which you're also going to tonight too.
Which I am, yeah. It's the first session of this month.
Great. Okay. I don't know how Dave does it all, where it's like there's
I have no idea.
Workshop day programming and all of the shows, and then residencies. Like he does so many different types of programming.
Dave is absolutely like the most amazing jazz educator I've ever met.
Yeah.
I don't know how he does it either.
Yeah.
It's just magic, I guess. I really don't know how else to put it.
Yeah, I love it. And what are some jazz musicians that are no longer living that you love, and who are some like modern people that you're leaning into at the moment? So
I'm going to start with the modern person. I think it was 2018. I did like a piano summer workshop or program at Berklee College of Music.
Oh, that's great.
Because, it was summer and my piano teacher, Harris Simon, at the time, Harris Simon was not in town. I think he went to Sweden. So I thought, what was I going to do with myself?
Yeah. I
still wanted to play the piano and to really learn more. So I applied for this Berklee program in the summer. And my teacher there, Leo Blanco, he completely blew my mind. It was like, I think it was a jam session or something, and I was playing Maiden Voyage. And then he probably wanted to show me something because, I wasn't playing interesting enough or whatever. But then he said, get up. And then I got up and he sat down. He started playing. And that was the most amazing thing I've ever heard. And I had these tears in my eyes. Not because I was sad. I mean, on the contrary, right? I was just like so deeply moved by the music. It was so sublime. I was quietly like tearing up.
I love it.
Because it was so beautiful.
Yeah. I think that speaks something to your character too, though, that you were able to appreciate what he's doing. I feel like in that scenario, I might have just been like, oh my gosh, I've been rejected. He's like switched seats with me, but he was also trying to show you something too.
Oh yeah, I mean, I didn't mind it at all. I was just so happy being able to like be in the presence of something so beautiful. And he's from South America too, so I love that part of jazz, like, you know. So yeah, he's one of the modern pianists that I really love. And historically, there are so many, right? I started listening to Garland and Wynton Kelly in high school, and of course Bill Evans, the Luminous Monk for sure.
The greats.
Oh yeah. So all of them.
Yeah.
You know, and I guess Herbie Hancock, Chick Corea, Keith Jarrett. I mean, again, it might be easy for people in the Triangle area to just go to a bar and listen to great live jazz, but that wasn't the case when I was in Charlottesville or when I was in Williamsburg, right? It was scarce. It was not easy to find. And in fact, some of my professors had a weekly gig at a local pub in Williamsburg, and I loved it. I went there every Tuesday night. But after a year, it got shut down because the new owner of the pub didn't like jazz. I was devastated, but like also I think from that moment I knew like when I could, I would just always go to see live jazz because I can never take it for granted, right? Like it could just go away at any moment.
Yeah. I admire so much all that you have done, especially being far from family and creating your own communities. And it sounds like you've pursued the opportunities that you've been drawn to or the ones that you wanted to create. I'm curious, when you meet someone who was in your shoes or something similar, like what informs how you approach them?
I mean, I feel very lucky that most jazz musicians I've met here have been incredibly kind to me. And, you know, I literally nobody, but they always make me feel welcome. You know, a lot of times I try hard to bring my friends, like philosophy friends or other friends, to these music events. So when Nicole Mitchell did a show at Sharp 9, because Maya Kronfeld was playing the piano, I tried very hard to advertise that show to my department. And I think I eventually brought 7 or 8 people. I think that's what I do. I try to introduce people who are interested to these shows and scenes and musicians, and they can decide for themselves if they want to like get involved further. And I successfully convinced one of my college friends to play jazz piano.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, and then he started taking lessons too. So I'm really proud of him. Yeah. But like that's only one.
Well, one, but think about how many people he'll play for. It's like, that's the ripple effect too.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he'll convince another to play. And certainly it wasn't easy because you don't want to be imposing, you know, your interest on others. Yeah. But
you can invite them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I still try to, especially my Chinese friends, because again, I don't think a lot of Chinese students are interested in jazz. That's why I want to basically make jazz a little better known.
Yeah.
Like, among my Chinese friends.
I'm almost jealous of having not heard of it and then having that kind of moment, even though I'm also grateful for having been surrounded by it, playing in the house on like CDs. But it just feels like a pivotal moment, though, for it to be like, what is this?
Exactly. That's so true. I didn't want to come here at first. It was my father's decision to send me here. Again, like all my friends were still in China, and I was scared of what would happen if I came here alone. Yeah. And English, again, I cannot stress this enough. I was terrible at English. Even like at my Chinese high school, my English was terrible. But I think coming to the United States is the best thing that ever happened to me, because otherwise I would never be able to fall in love with jazz.
Yeah. Well, the fact that now you're a year or so out from having a PhD in philosophy at Duke, that's just hope you've taken some moments to appreciate, like, I have done this.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I do appreciate philosophy, but music is my love. It's so much more important to me.
Okay. Well, what do you think the music will look like this summer, or what other plans do you have in the works?
I'm trying to start doing more shows on my own.
That'd be great, like band leading.
Yeah, I'm playing a gig in Greensboro in July, and we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
I'm really excited. I'm very nervous, obviously, but I'm excited too. And I'm hoping to play the piano maybe for some of the Sharp 9 combos.
That'll be great. How do you deal with nerves? Because I was reflecting on the cycle of emotions that performers go through where you're like, I'm so excited for this performance. What am I doing? I'm going to humiliate myself. I don't know what I'm doing. Why do I even do this? Actually, maybe it'll be fun. Okay, I'm really excited. And you just like are right back to where you started.
Oh, that is so realistic. It's so real.
Do I even know
described
jazz?
it perfectly. That is something that goes through my mind constantly, especially because I just didn't really have a lot of stage performance experience. But I think the thing about jazz is that you want to, do the opposite of being egoistic. You want to get rid of your ego and listen to others and, sort of forget about yourself a little bit, Don't try to make everything about yourself. I think that helps. And also, I think it helps that even if I think I didn't do very well, that's okay. I mean, people have been kind to me. They're not like, oh, you suck.
No, you sound beautiful.
They haven't said that directly to my face yet. I appreciate that.
No.
I think it's just something you have to go through to get better at it. Like, nobody was born just like a virtuoso, right?
Right. Yeah, there is the whole aptitude thing, but you also have to hone the skill with a lot of like alone time, just making mistakes and figuring it out. So
yeah, especially for
journey.
Someone who wasn't musically trained like throughout the childhood or something like that.
Yeah. I really like the idea of looking outward. I sometimes try to think of to combat my own nerves. Like, I'm sure there are other people who are here who have nerves too. How could I look out for them? And then by decentering my own self, then it kind of conversely then helps to not be obsessing over the ways in which you might not be perfect.
That is so true. And then another thing about the jam sessions is if you go to them, it's so humbling. There are so many talented musicians, and some of them are very young too.
Yeah.
Right? It's so humbling. You don't want to put yourself in a position to be a competitor. That's never going to work, right? It's all about working together in jazz.
Yeah.
It's not about showing off, and it's not about overshadowing other people.
Yeah.
I think that's another thing. Like, I never dream to compete with anyone else. I just want to get a little better than myself yesterday.
I like that a lot. I feel like there's the stereotype that men can't take hints, but I have watched enough jazz shows to see that like the saxophonist can just glance at the pianist and they are in sync of what's happening next. And so it's like I see a lot of not even hints, like even more subtle than that, and the chemistry there. So there's this like high EQ happening in the music because it's so collaborative and there is so much active listening. So that's maybe rethink that whole stereotype in certain ways.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, isn't that beautiful when you see that sort of like high level of communication?
Yeah.
Right. It's not even verbal. It's just sort of like they're on the same channel almost, right? They just sort of understand each other instantly. I think that's one of the beauties about this community, really.
Yeah.
Like, because like in academia, at least in philosophy, it's very isolating. You just sort of like work on your own stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe you talk to your advisor twice a month.
If they're around.
Most of the time, right? You don't really work with other people. You just, and it's just a lot more distant, even with people in my own cohort. But I feel like music just brings people in. We feel really close to one another.
Yeah. I feel like PhD students would do the best in outer space because you know how to be disciplined and be on your own, whereas the rest was to be like, what do you mean I can't check Instagram? Or, well, maybe you can now at this point. But well, it's been so fun to talk to you. Is there anything else you'd want to share with Six Count?
just wanted to share that when I got your message, I think naturally I just panicked because
Oh no.
because I mean I've listened to your podcast before, and I know many of the people who have come here, and musically I would never ever hold a candle to them. So I thought, oh my God, I'm gonna be like the humiliation.
Oh my gosh, that's
Six
just the evil voice in you.
I know, but then I still decided to come here after thinking about it, because I think it's worthwhile sharing my experience just to show that jazz can have this very deep influence and impact on someone's life, even if that person is not like a virtuoso of the music.
Well, I think you have a beautiful voice, and I felt shy reaching out to you because you're this talented, beautiful vocalist who's really cool. So I guess it was
so
likewise.
Sweet of you.
Well, thank you so much. It's been great to have you.
Thank you so much for having me.
鸳鸯双栖蝶双飞，满园春色惹人醉。悄悄问圣僧，女儿美不美？女儿美不美？
Thank you for listening to Six Count. I'm Zara Wild. You can let us know what you thought of the episode or recommend a guest by emailing us at sixcountpodcast@gmail.com or by finding us on Twitter or Instagram at sixcountpodcast. If you'd like to support our work in telling the story of jazz in Durham, you can make a gift to the show by following the link in our episode description. Thanks for listening.